Hello everyone and welcome to the Portimão debrief, because after the 80th WEC race in history, we've got to talk through everything that happened in this race. And I'm joined by Davidson. And give us the top line. What is the big stories of the race today?
Toyota still cannot be caught, can they? In qualifying, they had the speed this time. They were untouched, untroubled by any competition. The only thing was their reliability this time. So we'll get on to that later on. Yeah, but so for me, that was a big story. United, really dominant force in LMP2.
Incredibly impressive today.
Really impressive job by that team. As always, a brilliant fight in the GTE Am category as well. Nicky Katzberg at the end, brilliant for Corvette. Good defending, but Ferrari had the pace. Really incredible stuff.
So how about we start off by talking about our hypercars and Toyota. Perhaps a tale of two sides today. What do you think went so right for the number 8 and so wrong for the number 7?
Well, it was going right for the number 7 until Conway came on the radio and said, "I've got a black and orange flag warning inside my car on the Marshall system that they have." And even the team didn't know this by that point. As it turned out, the FIA saw it as well. And it was the sensor on the rear drive shafts, because they have front drive shafts as well in that four-wheel drive car. The rear drive shaft failed in terms of its sensor, only the sensor, so the car was fine. It still had good power and speed, but the FIA said, "We're not seeing any power readings coming from your car anymore. You have to fix it within the regulation."
Tough.
But them the rules.
And the number 8?
Number 8, really easy day for them actually. I mean, apart from Buemi's first stint where he was losing ground to Mike in the beginning, I think he was just looking after the tyres. He lost about 7 or 8 seconds, but then he started to chip away, got into the lead when they switched the positions round, and they were never headed. They won the race by over a lap on their competition. Nobody came close today here in Portimão.
Well, they didn't come close, but they still looked impressive. The Ferrari, the number 50.
Yeah, 50 was, and the 51 as well. They had a good inter-team battle, didn't they?
That was spicy.
I loved that bit actually,
really
both on the radio. Yeah, and the engineer was brilliant as well. Really, with Collado, you know, just putting him in his place when he needed to. Just look, let him by. If he doesn't pull away, we'll let you back past, and you know, then everything's fair. I thought he had a really cool head on his shoulders today, that engineer. Yeah, he was very entertaining throughout the race, because then obviously that car ran into the brake problems, and he was all over that as well, telling the drivers what to do. One of the stars for me today was Antonio Giovinazzi, nursing that car around with failing hybrid system, which they ended up having to turn off. It meant that the front brakes were having to do all the work of the usual front motor, which helps with the retardation. Overheated the front brakes to the point that one of them exploded, but Giovinazzi was there making more position change on the steering wheel than you see in a game of chess.
And then, of course, I want to talk about our third place finishers. Porsche Penske finally on the podium in their second race. What will they be taking from their day today?
They had a much better race weekend here in Portimão. Qualifying was pretty similar performance to that of Sebring, around the 2 seconds off of Toyota, or the lead car, but a much better balance of their car, much better tyre preservation as well. After Ferrari, they were comfortably best of the rest, ahead of Cadillac and in terms of performance, and Peugeot as well. But Peugeot were further up there. They had a better weekend, and that whole midfield bunch seemed to come together, and without the reliability problems from every second car in the teams.
Yes.
Apart from Cadillacs, there's just one car.
No second car.
No second car. Maybe that's the recipe. You only need one car.
They know what's up. Let's talk about our fourth place finishers. Cadillac haven't tested in Europe before, so I think they'll be pleased with fourth, no?
I think they will be. Yeah, like you say, it's first time for them in Portimão, so I think it was a strong showing. First time out here. I think all the drivers did a good job. It was just a shame for Westbrook getting caught out in the pit lane entry. I don't think it affected their ultimate performance at all. I think they were always going to finish behind the Porsche, but it was always close between the Porsche and the Cadillac. It was a good day for them.
I want to bring in today's race runner LMP2, Ollie Jarvis. How are you?
I'm good after that.
We saw you jump in that pool.
It's nice to be able to do it. It's a bit of a tradition, and I haven't won here before, so got to make the most of it.
Talk us through the race from your perspective, especially that ending. That was nail-biting stuff.
You know, Guido did a fantastic job at the start. We had a game plan, get out in front and just try and control the race from there.
Like you were doing in Sebring.
Exactly like that. Get out in front, get clean air, and just get our heads down. We knew that it would get closer later on because some people were running their silvers at the beginning, tyre strategies were all different. So we knew the race would get closer towards the end, but Josh jumped in and did a great job. I had my double and we were looking pretty good. And then Guido was back in and I was relaxing in the garage. I was done.
So I've just been speaking to him and he said that he thought he was going to do a triple stint or something.
Yeah, I was sat in the garage thinking, it's looking good. I'm going to go relax. And luckily I had the radio on. They said, Ollie, get ready. We've lost the radio, because they called him to box and he drove past the pit lane. I was listening to the radio and at one point I thought, we're going to stop on track. Like we've missed the box. So we were quite tight on fuel then. He came in and I literally told him to get out the car and
so
jumped in.
So we could see you standing in the back doing this. So you were trying to...
It was also, I was checking with the engineer to make sure, because the last thing I got was get ready. So I was trying to check with the engineer that they definitely wanted to, because I didn't want to present myself unless they wanted to do the driver change.
Didn't you have to serve the 5-second penalty as well at that moment? With nobody touching the car and no driver coming to the car, with no radio, he was lost.
He was just sat there and you could see him pointing at the radio in the car, but nobody could do anything. So we then ran round and told him, get out, quick. And we were hoping it was his helmet. And then I got in the car, I plugged in, and it was just beep, beep, beep. I lasted about a lap and I had to unplug. It was too much.
And you were back to old school pitboard method by this. We saw the magic marker was out with gap written down.
I was really enjoying that.
That was good.
I was coming past and every lap I was looking at it and I was like, do they really mean that? Because there was a moment in the race they were giving me fuel numbers and I'm thinking, they can't be serious. We went quite aggressive at the last stop. And so in my head, I sort of worked out, we'd boxed early at the end of the last stop. I could see what everybody else was doing. They'd boxed to cover off a safety car. And so I just thought, we stayed out and they were giving me a pit border countdown. And I was right behind the Prema at this point. They told me to box. But I decided in my head I wanted to do something different to them. So they boxed, and I think they obviously tried to cover us. And when he pulled in, I stayed out.
So you saw your pit board saying box, and you ignored that?
I stayed out for one lap because I wanted to get the jump on them in the pit lane. And the only way to do that was either short fill or to stay out and have a fast in lap.
Especially with no radio. I mean, that's seriously impressive. To take that risk to go, I'm going to go longer.
It was a calculated one because I just wanted to do something different to the Prema car. In the end, they may have taken left side tyres because I knew they hadn't at the stop before, but I thought they might try and triple them. So I thought they'd go for track position.
Thank you so much. Whilst we are here, I feel like it'd be rude not to talk about Peugeot, because after a tricky Sebring, this was a step in the right direction for them, I'd say.
It was. I mean, Sebring is one to forget. We all want to forget that one on their behalf.
Quite
They're quite happy to forget what happened there. Well, they can't forget because if we ever were to go back there, they need to sort it out in terms of the ride quality. Look, in terms of reliability, globally was a massive step forward compared to Sebring. They both saw the checkered flag today. That's a step forward. Speed-wise, they could mix it there or thereabouts with Cadillac and Porsche, and I feel like they got a position that they should have walked away with today. And no better, but it was definitely a better picture here than in Sebring, where the car didn't have pace, looked really hard to drive over the bumps, and terrible reliability. So if they can carry on this progression through the next couple of races coming, then who knows, by the time they get to Le Mans, they'll be in a much better position.
Last but by no means least, LMGTE Am. Coming along to a few of the cars up here, still just being returned to their teams. The end of the race was a particularly spicy one in that category, but it was Corvette who took home the win. What did you think of the race? Let's talk through it more generally and then we can go team by team.
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, GTE Am, or as in the olden days, Pro, it never let you down, did it? It was always such spicy action. The fact that the cars lend themselves to great racing because they don't kick up as much turbulent air as the prototypes out there, like the P2s and the Hypercars. It means that you've always got close racing. Maybe the BOP wasn't completely in some teams' favours here, but the teams that were at the sharp end had a race-long battle. So it was great to see lots of good fights out there, not just with the pro drivers, but the bronze and the silvers as well.
The bronze drivers at the start of the race were just as spicy, arguably.
It always seems to come down to Ben Keating and Sarah Bovin. Yes. They must be bored of the sight of each other's cars, either ahead or in the mirrors, the yellows and the pinks.
And then after that safety call from when the van wall crashed out, it sort of became a different race. It closed up the gap between the Corvette and the 83 AF Corsa. I really enjoyed that battle between Nicky Katzberg and Alicia Rivera. What did you think of it? Because we've not had on-track action between those two yet this season, and it was proper spicy dicey.
It's funny when you watch the lower graded drivers, or lesser graded drivers, with all due respect, the Am drivers. There are a load more mistakes, and that spices up the action in a way, because you know, one car can get ahead, make a mistake, like we saw in Sebring as well between Keating and Bovey. There, one makes a mistake here, they get ahead, then they make a mistake and the other one gets ahead, and they're not as well equipped, I'd say, or experienced
sort of
in the traffic.
Yeah,
so the traffic trips them up more, and it's a bit more up and down. But that race towards the end with Katzberg and Rivera, two really experienced drivers, and you got to see the nuances when it comes down to how they place their car, where the speed can be carried or not, how they manage the traffic. It was absolute A-grade stuff. I really enjoyed it, even though we didn't see an overtake. It's a bit like sometimes you have a football match where it ends 0-0. It can be nip and tuck, and honestly, some of the best strategic gamesmanship between two pro drivers you'll ever get to see.
And one thing I also really want to mention, because I think it's so cool, 4 women on that podium today. You've spoken to me before about how you think WEC can be a really good place for female drivers to grow and progress and develop. I think we saw that today.
I think it was just a taster of what's to come,
Ooh.
actually. I really do. You know, we spoke about Dorian Pound, brilliant first stint. I was really impressed with how she was keeping pace with Sean Galal, who used to drive in F2, for goodness sake. You know, he's a very experienced driver and quick. You know, the sky's the limit for her, really. And I feel like the LMP2 car really suits her style. Part of the Iron Dames program, of course, the driver program she's on. And then, yeah, we all know the Iron Dames, the pink Porsche. It's interesting because, you know, it's kids' half-term holiday still back at home in the UK, so my children are out here, brought the family out.
Lovely.
Great race to come to. So I got a son and a daughter, and my daughter instantly gravitated towards this. You know, there's a lot of intrigue around this all-female lineup in the pink Porsche.
Yeah.
And you know, pink's not her favourite colour. It's red. She's attracted to the fact that there are females in motorsport doing really well, and there you have it, the younger generation coming up. Not saying she's going to be a driver, but she might be inspired one day, who knows, to work in motorsport as an engineer or a mechanic, who knows, but seeing is believing.
Yeah.
And you know, and they are flying the flag. And I've always said, the problem is, it's not that the women don't have the talent, it's just that the talent pool that you're looking at is so much smaller than that of the choice of men. That if you had such a small talent, if you like for like, a similar size talent for the male drivers, you wouldn't find your Verstappens and your Hamiltons or Schumachers of the world.
Yeah.
You've limited it down so much. So in broadening that horizon, you're going to start finding more and more better talent out there. So like I say, this is just the beginning.
And I do want to mention Lily Wadu as well, because we haven't spoken about her yet, and she looks pretty impressive too.
She was, yeah, in the Ferrari that almost won.
Almost.
Yeah, so close. I mean, and she couldn't have done any more. She was in the LMP2 last year, so to come into the GT, that's quite interesting. And you hear some drivers say, I prefer driving in the GT cars. I really feel like she was fully comfortable in that GT car today, and you know, feisty when she needed to be, great overtakes, brilliant speed. A calm head on her shoulders. So yeah, it's exciting to see what they can do. You know, maybe you're looking at a Le Mans winner there in the GT category, who knows?
Bold phrases indeed. Now, to wrap us up, I want a driver of the day in each category. What can you do for me?
Oh, that's put me on the spot.
Oh, you know it.
Driver of the day in each category. Brendan Hartley he had a brilliant qualifying, a faultless race, but he had no pressure in the race. The person that I feel like drove a brilliant race and got absolutely everything out of their car at all times today was Nick Nielsen in the Ferrari number 50. He put pressure on his teammate James Collado early on. Once he was eventually in front, he did start to pull a gap, and he was Toyota's biggest threat, although he finished a lap behind them. Yeah.
P2?
P2, I gave driver of the day to Ollie in Sebring. I feel like he really deserved it there. This time, I think I'll give it to Guido because he started super sub. That's big pressure.
Yeah.
Coming to such a good team like United, big pressure for Van der Garde, jump into the new team, starts the race, keeps his nose clean, and brings it home as well without a driver radio, to the point where he has to get almost physically removed from the car. Yeah, say, sorry mate, you were supposed to finish. But yeah, so coming into the pit lane without a radio, that was difficult to manage for him, but he did well to soak up that pressure.
And in LMGTE Am?
I think just because I'm so impressed by his brilliant defensive strategical work, it's got to be Katzberg in the Corvette. I was well impressed by that at the end.
And what have we got to look forward to in Spa?
I think we've got to look forward to the Peugeots improving their speed, bringing the fight to that midfield battle that they're in. I think their car should be quicker there than it has been here. I expect Ferrari to be faster as well, to edge closer to the Toyotas. So that's the Hypercar. And LMP2.
Actually, we're losing an LMP2.
We're losing one LMP. Yes, actually.
We're gaining a Hypercar.
That would be brilliant. Is it just the one Hypercar? I think we're actually gaining two Hypercars.
Oh, cool. Oh, you've got me there. Yes, two
Cadillac. Yes, they're going to run another one as well. So that will be really good.
One more Porsche, one more Cadillac.
Yes. So Jota in Hypercar in the top category. That will be exciting. Yeah, let's see what they can do with that car.
And thank you so much for joining us, Anne.
It's been good fun again.
I think we've actually gone further than last time, you know. We were joking that we've nearly made it up to the track this time.
Yeah, let's just keep going into the sunset.
Little run.
Come on.
Oh, majestic. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next time out in Spa.